So if you want to basically guarantee that you will never ever learn to speak English fluently,
Oh, I know where this is going.
yeah, you should go stream a highly complex, like super fast-paced political documentary right now.
Right. Just put it on, sit back, and watch your brain completely shut down.
Exactly. Just let the overload wash over you. I mean, it sounds entirely backward to how we normally approach self-improvement, doesn't it?
Oh, totally backward. We really have bought into um, this narrative that mastering English, or any new language for that matter, it requires this Herculean amount of suffering.
Right, like the whole no pain, no gain mentality.
Exactly. We think about the sheer volume of vocabulary, the irregular verbs, all that unpredictable pronunciation. It creates this incredibly intimidating aura around the whole thing.
Yeah, we treat the learning process like we're preparing for I don't know, a decades-long expedition up this sheer icy cliff face.
And we just assume that if it doesn't feel agonizing, well, we just aren't trying hard enough.
But what if the path to fluency is actually shockingly easy? What if it's more like a gentle walk, provided you just understand the psychology of your own brain?
That is the million-dollar question.
It is. So today, for you, the listener, who wants to understand the actual mechanics of fluency without all the misery, we are doing a deep dive into a specific step-by-step guide. It's literally titled How to Learn English in an Easy Way.
Which sounds almost like a gimmick at first glance. Right?
It does.
Yeah.
But our mission today is to dissect this simple framework. We're going to break down exactly why these daily practices are so remarkably effective on a neurological level. Okay, let's unpack this.
I'm very eager to get into this because reading through this guide, I mean, the most fascinating aspect isn't some groundbreaking mathematically complex grammatical formula.
Right, there's no secret algorithm here.
No, not at all. It doesn't promise instant fluency through magic. It relies almost entirely on simple, consistent daily practice.
It's very grounded.
It is. It strips away all the academic pretense and focuses squarely on human psychology, cognitive load, and really habit formation.
So to understand how to learn easily, we first have to look at how the brain actually takes novel information and, before it even attempts to formulate a word.
Right, the input phase.
Yeah, you have the guide there.
Yeah.
Where does it suggest a learner even begin this process?
So the guide kicks off by insisting that learners engage with English every single day through listening.
Okay, listening. Makes sense.
Yeah, it suggests utilizing mediums like podcasts and short videos. But, and this is crucial, it draws a massive definitive red line.
Which is?
You must start with easy English. It explicitly warns learners to actively avoid using difficult videos when they're first starting out.
Which honestly feels completely counterintuitive if you are a highly motivated person.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you're ambitious, your instinct is to immerse yourself in the deep end. You think, I want to be fluent as fast as possible, so I'm going to watch advanced cinema.
Or the political documentary you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. But to me, jumping into advanced content on day one, it's like walking into a gym, lying down on the bench, and trying to press 300 pounds.
You're not moving that bar.
Not an inch. You aren't going to magically adapt to the weight. You're just going to get crushed, and you'll probably never go back to the gym.
Yeah, the injury is just too severe.
So on a cognitive level, why is that crushing feeling so detrimental? Is that why people just give up so early?
What's fascinating here is what actually happens to our working memory when we are exposed to highly complex novel data.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, when you listen to fast speech, heavy slang, or really advanced vocabulary, the sheer volume of unfamiliar audio overloads the brain's processing capacity.
It's just too much data at once.
It's exactly like your 300-pound barbell analogy. The cognitive load is simply too high. Your brain cannot parse the continuous stream of sound into recognizable individual words.
Let alone extract any actual meaning from them.
Right, so the brain literally just throws its hands up and quits processing altogether.
It just hears a wall of noise.
A wall of chaotic noise. And biologically, when our brains encounter chaotic, unresolvable patterns for extended periods, it triggers a stress response.
It goes into panic mode.
Yes, and it creates deep frustration. The guide fundamentally understands that frustration is the absolute enemy of language acquisition.
Because if you're frustrated, you're not learning.
Exactly. By actively avoiding those difficult videos and sticking strictly to easy English, you are providing what linguists call comprehensible input.
Comprehensible input. So it's less about the literal definitions of the words in the easy video and more about conditioning your brain.
Precisely. It's about keeping your brain in a receptive, pattern-recognizing state rather than a defensive, overwhelmed one.
That makes total sense. When you listen to slow, clear, simple English, your brain isn't panicking.
Right. It actually has the bandwidth to latch onto the acoustic patterns. It starts to naturally map out the rhythm, the intonation, the spatial boundaries between words.
Because you aren't constantly pausing the audio to look up a translation.
You're absorbing the structural flow of the language in a low-stress environment. You are lifting the 5-pound weights, which builds the necessary neural pathways for the heavier lifting later on.
Okay, so we've established a safe, low-stress baseline for taking data in. But eventually that data has to come back out.
Yes, the inevitable output phase.
Which brings us to the part that genuinely terrifies most people, which is speaking.
Oh, it's the biggest hurdle.
How do we transition from absorbing information to producing it without immediately triggering those exact same cognitive defense mechanisms that we just talked about?
That transition from passive reception to active production, that is where the highest percentage of learners hit a brick wall.
So what's the workaround?
To combat this, the guide introduces a very specific daily practice. It mandates speaking small sentences every single day.
What kind of sentences are we talking about here?
Incredibly basic ones. Things like, how are you? I am fine. And what are you doing?
Okay, very entry level.
Extremely. But the critical instruction is the environment in which you do this. The guide directs you to practice in front of a mirror.
A mirror.
Yes, to speak slowly and clearly to yourself and to embrace the fact that, quote, mistakes help you learn.
Now, I hear the logic in creating a safe environment, but I have to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
If I'm standing alone in my bathroom saying, I am fine, to my own reflection, I am completely isolated.
You are.
I'm not learning conversational context. I'm not learning how to read someone's facial cues when I mispronounce a vowel or, how to react to their unpredictable response.
That's a fair point.
Doesn't isolating the practice like that actually create a false sense of security? Like, when you finally talk to a real person, won't you just crumble?
This raises an important question about what we are actually trying to achieve in the early stages of verbal production.
Right. What is the goal here?
Are we practicing social communication or are we practicing physical mechanics?
Oh, interesting distinction.
Because when you attempt to speak a new language with another human being before you've mastered the mechanics, your affective filter, which is the psychological and emotional barrier to learning, it skyrockets.
Because you're terrified of looking foolish.
Yeah.
You're worried about being misunderstood or being judged by the other person.
Yes. The brain essentially goes into a minor fight-or-flight state.
Wow. Over a conversation.
Absolutely. The cognitive resources you need to formulate sentences are completely hijacked by social anxiety. Your working memory is spent managing your fear of the other person's perception of you.
Rather than focusing on, the placement of your tongue or the formulation of the verb.
Precisely.
That explains why you can study a language in a book for months, step up to order coffee from a barista, and suddenly completely forget the word for hello.
Your brain literally redirects all the power to the panic alarm.
So the mirror is a hack for the panic alarm.
Exactly. This is why the mirror technique is neurologically brilliant. The mirror completely removes the social performance aspect.
It decouples the physical act of speaking from the anxiety of communication.
Remember, producing English requires your mouth, your vocal cords, and your diaphragm to coordinate in entirely new motor patterns.
It's an athletic event for your face.
It really is. By saying, I am fine, slowly to a mirror, you are training your physical articulators in a psychological vacuum.
You're building the raw muscle memory without the interference of social panic. It's almost like a golfer practicing their swing mechanics in their living room without a ball.
Yes.
You do it there before stepping onto a high-stakes course.
And returning to the guide's explicit statement that mistakes help you learn, this is only biologically true if the environment actually allows you to process the mistake.
Right.
In a real conversation, a mistake causes embarrassment, which spikes that affective filter we talked about, and it halts learning completely.
But in front of a mirror.
A mistake is just data. You hear yourself mispronounce a word, you adjust your jaw, and you try again.
You learn to embrace those physical errors as mechanical adjustments.
Rather than signs of social failure, exactly. You build structural confidence so that when you do step out into the real world, the physical mechanics are automatic.
The mirror neutralizes the panic alarm and locks in the physical mechanics. I see how vital that is.
It's foundational.
But a mirror won't teach you new concepts. Once the fear is gone, how do we actually start acquiring new pieces of the language to build more complex sentences?
We have to expand the toolkit.
Right, but how do we do that without triggering that cognitive overload we discussed earlier?
This is where the methodology shifts from establishing baseline comfort to strategic expansion.
Okay.
The guide provides a highly specific metric for this. It demands that you learn exactly 5 new words every day.
Just 5.
Just 5.
See, here's where it gets really interesting. 5 words a day sounds tiny, like almost inconsequential.
It feels too easy.
It does. But if we do the math for you, the listener, 5 words a day over the course of a year is over 1,800 words.
Which is massive.
It is. Conversational fluency in many languages requires a working vocabulary of roughly 1,000 to 2,000 words. So mathematically, it's a highly effective, low-friction target.
It gets you there in a year.
But I assume the guide doesn't just tell you to read them out of a dictionary.
No, definitely not. It includes a massive caveat. It stresses that simply learning the definitions is not enough. The guide dictates that using those words in sentences is, quote, very important.
Okay, I'm stuck on that mandate.
Yeah.
Why must they be used in sentences?
Well,
I mean, if the ultimate goal is acquiring 1,800 words, why can't we just rote memorize a list of definitions using flashcards and call it a day?
flashcards feel faster, right?
Yeah. It seems like writing out sentences for every single word slows the process down unnecessarily.
Because rote memorization treats the human brain like a computer hard drive. And that is fundamentally not how our semantic memory operates.
We are machines.
No. If we connect this to the bigger picture of cognitive science, words do not exist in our brains as isolated files. They exist in deeply interconnected semantic networks.
Okay, interconnected networks.
Learning isolated words via flashcards is like stockpiling raw sodium and raw chlorine.
Oh, chemistry class. They're just individual volatile elements sitting on a table.
And on their own, they aren't very useful. Plus, they are incredibly difficult for the brain to retain without context.
But when you put them together into a sentence,
They bond to create salt.
I love that analogy.
The sentence fundamentally changes how your brain categorizes, stores, and accesses the word. When the guide forces you to use those 5 daily words in sentences, it forces you to learn the behavioral relationships of those words.
So you're learning how the word behaves in its natural habitat, rather than what it looks like isolated in a cage.
Precisely. How does this specific noun interact with this specific verb?
Right.
What preposition naturally follows this adjective? Formulating a sentence forces your brain to build a multidimensional memory of that word.
The word becomes associated with an action, or an emotion, or a spatial relationship.
Exactly, rather than just a flat translation on a piece of paper. The neural pathways become thicker and much more easily accessible.
So quality over quantity.
Always. 5 words applied practically and bonded into a semantic network are exponentially more valuable to your real-time fluency than 50 words memorized passively in a vacuum.
That completely reframes vocabulary building for me. It's not about how many individual terms you can hoard. It's about how many durable neural connections you can weave between them.
The strength is in the web.
So let's review. We've covered the low-friction input, right?
Yes.
Using the mirror to build mechanical muscle memory. And strategically expanding the semantic network with 5 words a day.
Oh, crucial steps.
But the guide doesn't stop with just external physical exercises, does it? The ultimate goal of fluency requires a radical shift in how your brain actually operates day to day.
It's the final boss of language learning.
You have to move from interpreting the language from the outside in to generating it from the inside out.
Yes, this represents the ultimate cognitive tipping point of language acquisition. The guide's final major directive is that you have to actively try to think in English.
And true to form, it brings it right back down to the absolute basics.
It really does. It instructs learners to start with incredibly simple internal thoughts.
Like what?
The examples it gives are basic narrations, like, I'm eating food, or I'm going to school.
Super simple.
The underlying philosophy running through this instruction is that a little practice every day is powerful, and you must take it step by step.
Now, trying to forcibly change the language of your own internal monologue, that is a massive ask.
It feels unnatural at first.
Unnatural is putting it mildly. To me, it feels like trying to rip out the default operating system on your phone. You know, you've been running iOS your whole life, and suddenly you're trying to force the hardware to natively run Android code.
It's going to crash a few times.
It's going to feel incredibly clunky.
Yeah.
And you're going to constantly want to revert back to your native language because, frankly, it requires zero effort.
Your brain loves the path of least resistance.
Always. So how does internally narrating something as mundane as "I am eating food" actually bridge the gap to real, flowing, complex fluency?
It bridges the gap by attacking the single biggest bottleneck in language processing,
Which is,
the translation delay.
the delay.
When you are a beginner, your brain is acting as an active, exhausted interpreter.
Right. You hear a question in English?
You translate that question into your native language. Then you figure out your response in your native language.
And then you translate that response back into English,
Exactly, before your articulators can finally speak it out loud.
which creates a massive lag in real time. By the time you've done all that internal processing, I mean, the conversation has moved on, and you just feel entirely left behind.
We've all been there. True fluency isn't just knowing the vocabulary. It is decreasing the latency between thought and speech until it reaches zero.
So it's instantaneous.
Yes. What the guide is doing by instructing you to think, "I am eating food," while you are actually physically eating food, is teaching you to bypass that internal interpreter entirely.
You're directly mapping the English words to the real-world sensory experience rather than mapping them to your native vocabulary.
Yes. You see the food, you taste the food, and the English word food arises simultaneously with the concept without passing through the filter of your native tongue.
You're skipping the middleman.
Precisely.
Yeah.
By narrating your daily life step by step, I am walking to the car, I am opening the door, I am turning on the light, you turn your entire existence into a low-stakes immersion environment.
You are constantly generating native output just for yourself.
It perfectly encapsulates the core thesis that a little practice every day is powerful. You weave the new language into the fabric of your daily routine.
Shifting it from a subject you study at a desk to a lens through which you operate in the world.
It stops being a chore and becomes a habit.
It stops being a task on your to-do list and starts being the way you interface with reality. Let's bring all of this together for you, the listener, because the cognitive journey we've outlined today is profound in its simplicity.
It really is an elegant framework.
First, you bypass cognitive overload by priming your brain with easy, comprehensible input. You ensure you stay in a receptive state rather than a defensive one.
Step 1.
Then, you step in front of the mirror to decouple the physical mechanics of speaking from the social anxiety of making a mistake.
That's step 2.
Third, you strategically build a durable semantic network by bonding exactly 5 new words a day into context using sentences.
No more isolated flashcards.
Right. And finally, you eliminate the translation delay by rewiring your internal monologue with simple, step-by-step narration of your own life.
Bringing it all inside.
So what does this all mean? It means the widespread belief that learning English is an insurmountable, agonizing mountain is just fundamentally flawed.
It's a myth we need to let go of.
You do not need a heavier textbook or a punishing study schedule. Fluency is simply the result of consistent, neurologically sound daily practices.
It is entirely about aligning your practice with your brain's natural architecture.
Work with your brain, not against it.
And as we conclude this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, specifically regarding that last directive.
The internal narration.
Yes, the guide tells you to internally narrate your day with phrases like, "I am eating food," or "I am going to school."
Right.
If you truly commit to narrating your simplest daily habits in a brand new language, how much might that practice change your relationship, not just with English, but with your own presence of mind?
That's a really fascinating angle. How so?
Well, to successfully say, "I am drinking coffee" in English in your head, you have to actually pay attention to the fact that you are drinking coffee.
You can't be on autopilot.
Exactly. Your brain cannot be lost in anxieties about tomorrow or ruminations about yesterday.
You are forced to anchor yourself in the current mundane action in order to cognitively translate it.
Right. How might that simple step-by-step language practice profoundly alter your mindfulness and your awareness of the everyday moments in your life? Wow.
You might find that this supposedly easy method of learning a language simultaneously teaches you how to be far more present in your own life.